A Raptors insider just revealed a concerning scenario for the Toronto Raptors this offseason. It involves Immanuel Quickley and the Orlando Magic. And before we dive into it, I want to say I have zero expectations that Immanuel Quickley will leave the Toronto Raptors this summer. This is not what this video is about. I think after the Toronto Raptors made the trade to acquire Immanuel Quickley and RJ Barrett, especially at the time IQ was valued as the centerpiece of that trade. Now, you can make an argument the way the season went that RJ Barrett's such remarkable play, maybe he was the golden piece acquired in that deal, but IQ was brought in to be the point guard of the future for the Toronto Raptors. So, regardless of whatever happens this offseason, he's entering unrestricted free agency, and I believe the Toronto Raptors will match pretty well any offer that is presented to Immanuel Quickley, because in restricted free agency, the Toronto Raptors have the right to match any specific deal that they are looking for. So that's not the concerning aspect of this video. But what is other teams out there on the open market having a ton of cap space. And one team that's named, you probably saw in the thumbnail, is the Orlando Magic. And this is what Michael Grange essentially brought up, saying that the Magic have depth, potentially a star-level high-end guys, and plenty of team-building options. They wanted to see what their gaps were in the playoff scenario, and now they know. A point guard who can really shoot. Someone who can play with Suggs and create space for Wagner and Paolo. So, who's he alluding to here? Because this description best aptly fits a Toronto Raptor by the name of IQ Immanuel Quickley, who, frankly, would be a perfect fit going down there with Orlando, and frankly, could be an option that I could see the Orlando Magic tossing a ton of money to. Now, they've been rumored for a ton of guys that are three-point shooters, guards that can sort of space the floor, create their own shots, right? Malik Monk is a name that's been mentioned a ton. Klay Thompson is a guy that there's mutual interest on both sides around, but Immanuel Quickley seems like the player that fits their timeline the best and could be the most attractive option out there on the open market. And what makes this scary? What makes this unfortunate for the Toronto Raptors, especially where at least I'm of the belief that they're going to match any specific offer? Well, the Orlando Magic have a ton of money to play with. Basically, the Orlando Magic, we can look at their salary cap. A lot of their top guys, in regards to Paolo Banchero, Franz Wagner, they are not under their big money deal contracts happening just yet. So this offseason, especially if they want to get off of a Cole Anthony, who struggled in the playoffs, a few of these guys, frankly, they could toss a ton of money to a guy like Immanuel Quickley to try to pry him away from the Toronto Raptors, take that risk, in terms of a big money deal, but they probably realistically know the Raptors would match any type of offer, so they could potentially just throw a massive contract similar to what the Utah Jazz did with Paul Reed and the Sixers last summer. Danny Ainge getting one over, on the Sixers, as he used to do a ton with the Boston Celtics, right? Or even the Orlando Magic to the Toronto Raptors years before with Bismack Biyombo throwing out a contract where Biz wanted to stay a Toronto Raptor, wanted to be on the squad, but they valued him as a guy that could potentially be a fit. Obviously, it didn't work out by any means, but could potentially be a fit, so they overpay for him and see what the Toronto Raptors do. Do they match the money? Do they sort of make an offer? Do they accept, a deal that they can't refuse? And if they don't, then it is what it is, right? The Magic, they don't have to pay any of the contract. They don't have to do anything like that. If they do, then they get a player that they think could be a fit into their system. But for the Toronto Raptors, right, if the Orlando Magic lose out, they offer this money, they lose out, then a rival, not a division rival, but a conference rival, is ending up having to dump more money into a guy that they probably didn't have to in the first place. Because looking at IQ, just basically in terms of expectations, realistically, he's going to probably get offered a deal in the 5-year range that wouldn't be less than $150 million. However, it could go up to as much as nearly $5 million. The Raptors felt like they had to give that to IQ. So pouring $40 million per year, per annually to Immanuel Quickley would be a ton of money. And anyone that's been watching the vids know that I'm a big IQ guy. I really like his ability to facilitate, sneaky good defender, as well as obviously his elite three-point shooting. But just looking at the stats, overall for Immanuel Quickley, 17 points, 4 rebounds, 5 assists on the year. Again, 24 years old, will be 25 next season. And his stats took a jump since he joined the Toronto Raptors, averaging 19 points per game, 7 assists, again, as I mentioned, playing solid defense, and the shooting is just really, really strong for IQ, right? Shooting, in terms of his percentages, close to 40% from behind the three-point line, and those are on shots where only 36% of those shots, or 60% of those shots are assist upon. So that means he's able to create his own three-point looks and shoot nearly 40%. Obviously, the spot-ups from the corners aren't that high of percentage, which is really interesting, but the off-the-dribble, create-yourself three-point shots, IQ is able to produce at an extremely high level. So, the Raptors, again, we want him to be around. We want to see if he can develop into that type of player that is on another level at the point guard position for this team, with his facilitating and shooting. But those stats don't indicate to me, or really anyone probably across the league, a guy that has earned that $40 million per year number. It's just the reality of it. I mean, the Raptors let Fred VanVleet walk, who, again, I think a lot of Raptors fans, myself included, would agree that Immanuel Quickley is the better fit for this team long term. But in terms of resume, in terms of, money earned, Fred VanVleet was an all-star. He was the leader, bona fide leader of this team for a couple seasons, in terms of vocal leader and stuff, as much as people hate to say it. And he won a championship. He was a key piece on that championship roster. I think or maybe not but like a lot of Raptors fans' views of Fred VanVleet are a little bit tainted after he just really couldn't handle it as the number one option on a team. But, as a secondary third, he's probably the third, fourth scoring option on that championship winning team. Even though he came off the bench, he closed pretty well all those games in the Milwaukee Bucks after his kid was born. In that Bucks and Warriors series, Fred VanVleet was the bona fide bucket getter for this Raptors group, outside of Pascal Siakam, Kawhi Leonard, obviously, and Kyle Lowry on certain nights. So, Fred VanVleet has more of that resume, and the Raptors said heck no to paying Fred VanVleet $40 million per season, and that was only for just 2 years. So, Immanuel Quickley, again, him, promising future. Don't want to take anything away from IQ, but $40 million per year is a ton of money. It's a major investment, and frankly, it would be a major risk to sort of match one of these deals. Now, I think you do it even if the Orlando Magic offer one of those types of packages, offer one of those types of deals to an IQ. The cap's going up, maybe IQ could develop, and just losing an asset like that would be a major fumble for the Toronto Raptors, but it would be a major blow to our cap space, going forward into the future, because frankly, the Toronto Raptors have a lot of guys that they're going to have to pay, even though we have the flexibility right now. We have RJ Barrett under contract long term. Scotty Barnes' extension will be a max extension. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it, and that's going to be coming up they're probably going to have to sign him to that extension this offseason. Still 1 year left of a cheap deal for Scotty Barnes, but then you look at other guys, right? Kelly Olynyk, his contract extension is going to kick in, making roughly I think it was $13 million per year. It's not showing up on the screen at this point. Jakob Poeltl's still under contract for a long time. And then, Grady Dick, cheap money for a while, but I don't know. The Raptors have some flexibility right now, but tying up $40 million in IQ would be a major blow into that flexibility, but I think it's something that's calculated, probably expect to be around $30 million per year for Immanuel Quickley, which coming into the season, a lot of people thought would be a major overpay, but his play this season has probably warranted at least taking a bite on that potential, but $40 million per year, I still probably do it. I don't want to walk for nothing, but it's a risk. It is a risk for this Raptors group and affects their flexibility. So, concerning if the Orlando Magic do offer that type of contract to the Raptors point guard. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. You guys best make it this far. I'm signing out. Cheers.